All right, it's another episode of Huddle Up, and with me today again, as always, Rob Clock. How you doing, Rob? And
Doing
our guest
great.
today is I'm going to call you like all everything because it was all American, all conference, all this, all that. Jake Metz, defensive line, played back in what was it, Jake? I didn't write it down. What year were you there?
So 2014 would have been my last year.
Okay, okay, great, yeah. So I also want to thank our sponsor, today's sponsor, who has been a huge sponsor on a number of different levels, Dennis Wenger, Frontier Corporation. Dennis played back in '81, and we really appreciate him supporting the program, supporting RR4L and all that. So thanks a lot, Dennis. All right, man, we're going to jump into it, Jake. Like I said, you're kind of all everything. Rob, go ahead, fire
I'm
away.
up first today, so here we go. Jake, what brought you to Ship? And we kind of know some of the rest of the story, so I'm going to ask, did you have hopes of playing Division One?
Right.
But how did you end up at Ship?
So I started off in Montgomery County at Souderton High School. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Souderton. Basically, I didn't have many hopes. I didn't get to play until my senior year. I was a late bloomer, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basketball player. I was getting recruited to a couple basketball schools, 9th, 10th grade. So I just, in my head, I'm thinking, hey, college football was always my passion. I was a football player playing basketball, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There were some seniors that were ahead of me. I was a late bloomer. I didn't take the weight room as serious at a young age as I should. And then come senior year, I had a standout year. And that's when some Division II schools in the area started to reach out. I had a former player of mine, Josh Kremarenko, who I looked up to a lot going through Souderton, and he was a freshman then at Shippensburg. He didn't get recruited, but he was going to try out, and it wasn't hard for him to convince me to come play with him. So once I got there, it was a great decision. Coach Rocky Reese was still there my first year, and then the next year is when Coach Mack took over. So I got a little bit of the old school and the new school as well.
Nice. Who specifically recruited your school? Do you remember? Was there a specific coach?
Oh yeah, and to this day he'll claim coach. So basically, it was when I got there, I didn't want to be an O lineman, but I'm getting recruited heavy by the O line coach. I go, Coach, I'm playing D, and he goes, we think we can make you a tight end, Jake. So I get recruited now. I came in, they thought I was a receiver. I remember they came in, I was a receiver.
How big were you at that point, Jake? How big were you at that point?
Now 145 or no 245 was what I got to Ship. When I left Souderton, I was about 210.
Okay.
So I turned it
That's
on my
wild.
freshman year, and I jumped up to 245.
Wow. I'm sorry. So who recruited you? I interrupted. Go ahead.
Coach Lee recruited me at Souderton. Great guy. He gave me a call and gave me a chance. So Coach Lee, you're the man.
Nobody wants to be on the O line. I was an offensive line. Nobody wants to be on the O line.
I know.
I wanted to be a defensive end.
I know. I basically showed up to camp. They gave me number 81, and they thought I was a receiver. So I had to quickly tell them no. And that's when I gained quick 35 pounds. I jumped in to defensive end, and that's basically where I stayed from there.
Over that time, I got to tell you, I was talking to you before we started. Howie Guarini did a highlight video of Jake, and of all the ones that Howie has created, I watched that one several times now because that's a hell of a highlight reel. It starts off with an interception for a touchdown as a defensive end. It's just every play is a big play. What's the greatest memory? What's the biggest moment when you were playing ball and Ship over those years?
I'd say the big team wins. When obviously the Bloomsburg under the lights on Halloween was awesome. Whenever we beat a big Bloomsburg game or a Westchester, I remember a homecoming for Westchester. For me, the personal accolades were okay, but I always liked the team victories. When we came through with those games that they didn't think we were going to win. When we beat Shepherd, particularly, I think that's what put us on the map the first game of my senior year. That was one of the bigger ones. But those games that nobody really thought that we were going to win and we came out on top, those were the good ones.
Yeah. You had some big moments though. I mean, I gotta say, I know you're not going to talk about that too much, but what's the biggest individual thing? I mean, like I said, I saw the interception for a touchdown. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I think the biggest aha moment when I got the Ship, and I thought about this because I was like, because obviously guys that go to a Division II school, you don't have, everybody has aspirations to play pro ball, but it doesn't click that you have a chance. And I remember my freshman year going into sophomore year, Coach Powell grabbed me, and I was a scout team player. And he basically told me about the guys that were there before, and he put it in my ear. He said, Jake, I think you could honestly play pro ball if you keep playing like you're playing. it didn't even click. I didn't have that idea. I knew I could play that way. But from then on, I just knew, hey, I'm going to try to be that guy that made it out of SHIP. You know, I looked up the guys like Ron Davis, basically guys, John Kuhn, Brent Grimes, that even were able to make it from there. And I think my freshman year, when I turned a switch and I just went all in on football, that's when I said, all right, I think I can do this. So I tried to transform myself and become a professional player playing in Division II, if that made sense.
Oh, yeah.
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 Definitely.
I know when we go back and watch games, you know, we get with our old teammates and stuff, and we try to relive our memories. But I can remember this vividly, watching you play. And I always sat with John Reese, a former defensive lineman, and he would just watch you. He would not watch anything else. And he loved you. And he always said, you know what he did here? And he'd explain it. And he said, this kid's got it, whatever it is. And if John paid you a compliment, it was kind of rare. So I knew there was something special about you just because of what Reese had said about you. Because Reese was a madman. He was really good, but he was just crazy on the field. And if he liked you, yeah, that was a good sign. So my question is this. Talk about how your career at SHIP evolved. What made you the player you eventually became?
Oh, man, I'll be honest. When Coach Mack took over, it was a different beast. You know, I was able to start to transform into the new program as well. As a redshirt freshman, you don't have much impact with the team. And I think when Rocky Reese was there, it was about the phase out time and other guys were coming. So once Coach Mack flipped the switch and I knew he was my head coach, I loved the guy when I first met him. Even when he was a DB coach, I remember he gave the first speech and I was so fired up. The moment he became coach, that's when it flipped. You know, I was like, this is it. I'm doing this and I'm taking this team. Fortunate enough, we had Zach Zulli on offense. And I got to give my guy a shout out. We wouldn't have got noticed if it wasn't for a quarterback and Zach Zulli. So to have all those things on both sides, a great defense and all the vets that we had and me, but without the quarterback, you're not scoring. So we were able to do both sides and get noticed at the next level was ultimately what allowed me to shine and even get notoriety.
You guys had some great players on the team all around. I mean,
oh yeah.
Besides Zach, I mean, you had was that Trevor Harmon, receiver?
Yep, Trevor Harmon as well. Yeah.
Who else was on defense with you at that time?
We had Damon Green on the other side. He was the captain with me. We had a lot of vets that have played a couple years, and Avery Coleman. We had Tyreek as well was playing in the back. We had a good amount of interior. I think Saeed Khatib and Khalil Smith. Our D-line really set the tone, and guys weren't able to move. And we took pride in running to the ball. I just remember that. I would always run to the ball. And I think when I sometimes watch my highlights, I'm like, holy cow, we were just running. Yeah. Like moving, and Mac loved that. You know, he always did. He put that into us. But our D line, I'd say, was really the staple. You know, obviously I'm a D lineman, so I'm biased. But
like every D lineman I've ever talked to.
Yeah. But we set the tone up front. So my junior and senior year, those 2 years we made playoffs, those were the most dominant I think our line was.
So after SHIP, you went to the next level, spent some time in the pros, a couple different organizations. Just tell us about that transition from SHIP to the pros, who you were with, and was that a crazy leap?
Most certainly. I remember my junior year because we did so well. Coming into my senior year, I think all 32 teams came to SHIP to scout or talk to me and Zulli as well. Wow. And that's when I noticed I would have a shot. I then got invited to the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, which was a big-time all-star game that you get invited to. Yeah. That gives you the opportunity to showcase in front of those NFL teams. So I left 2013, went to the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, and I actually had an agent that allowed me to stay in Florida at Bommarito's training camp. I went down there prior to the draft, trained my butt off, trained with a lot of high-quality NFL guys, and that's when basically it all started. I didn't get drafted, but I was able to go to rookie minicamp with the Detroit Lions. Didn't make it there. You know, I could have gave up at that point too. Got another call to come to rookie camp with the New York Giants. That was great. They had me playing long snapper, tight end as well. They threw me a couple passes, made it through rookie minicamp, didn't make that team as well. So at that point, it was kind of like, okay, do I hang them up or do I keep playing? But, you know, I knew I had the drive. I touched the ball. I've seen the guys. I knew I could play. Fortunately, I had a good family that supported me, and they allowed me. I went and played arena ball. So I went down to Ron Jaworski in Philadelphia. I lived down, played arena ball. We ended up winning an Arena Bowl championship. I have my ring right here. This is one of them. Pretty cool to be from Philly.
You got to show the ring. There you go.
Nice.
Love it. Very nice.
My ring I want. So with Ron Jaworski, I got a ring there. And then I was fortunate enough to get called up to play for the Eagles. And I went to training camp with the Eagles that year, 2016. Made it all through camp, made it to last cuts, and then I got released again. Basically, from there, Ron Jaworski and Marty Judge, the owner of the Soul, started an arena league in China. I got drafted first round of the Qingdao Clippers, and I ended up 3 to 4 months over in China. We traveled the whole coast, went to all the different stadiums that were basketball stadiums filled with arena football fields now. We toured, we played with the Chinese players. We went to their academies. We picked out half of our team American and half Chinese, and we basically introduced the sport to those guys over there.
That's interesting.
It was
That's
so
really cool.
It was awesome.
That's a great experience, yeah.
And all my arena football players that I made friends with throughout the country came with me as well. So it was cool to be able to tour the country with them. We got to see the Great Wall of China. We went to the tallest building in Shanghai. We visited all the major spots, and I made some great friends that I still can't speak to them because I don't know Mandarin, but I could FaceTime the whole time, and it was really a cool experience to be able to do all that, to be able to travel the world just through football.
Yeah. So early on, you said you got a shot, and they made you a tight end and a long snapper
in training camp with the Giants. Yeah,
you went from a defensive end, and in the pros they switched you to tight. How do you make that transition?
I'm playing DM. We're going through practice, and you make it becomes clear that the only way you're going to make a team is special teams. So I fudged the guy while they're doing long snaps. I said, hey, I can long snap too. Gave me a couple throws. I think the position was already solidified. They had 3 guys, and I'm just an extra guy. But as I was receiving the passes back, as they're throwing them to me, I was catching them. And the one guy goes, dude, you want to try tight end? I go, yeah, I want to try tight end.
I'll try anything.
Ran a couple routes. I made catches. Obviously, it didn't work out, but it was cool to be able to have the opportunity to play all those positions.
That is cool.
Yeah. Got cut from the Eagles, played 4 months over in China, and when I came home, the Buffalo Bills had called me at that point, and I went directly to their facilities at the end of the 2016 season after their last game. I then signed as a free agent, kicked butt in the tryouts, did really well, signed me on the spot at the end of that season, and basically went from there all the way to the end of training camp. Lived in Buffalo for about 5-6 months. That was probably the coolest experience, just to be able to be in those NFL facilities and experience what those guys do and have the training and the mindset. And, all the journeys that football has taken me has been so awesome. And I owe it all. So it was really cool.
Nice. Is it dizzying to be going from like one camp to another camp to
yeah. And I think even after I got cut from Buffalo, the Eagles brought me back for another. It's differing, but it's also it takes a lot out of you as a kid playing.
Sure.
Dreams are so close, and every time you touch it, it really does. It affects you a little more mentally than it does physically, in a sense. So a lot of those kids do get bounced around and used as training camp guys, but that's the name of the game. That's what we sign up for. Yeah. So to even get that opportunity was pretty cool, but it beat me up mentally. I had enough surgeries. All my fingers are messed up now. If you can't tell, they don't bend anymore. I had like 5 or 6 surgeries on my hands. I can't bend all. Every D lineman has it, but it comes to a point when you really got to hang them up. And it was just kind of like a drag out part, which stunk. But again, the opportunity was amazing. Just to get there. Yeah, it really was.
Very cool. Excellent.
So Jake, football has created some other opportunities for you. Can you share some of those? Some really interesting ones.
Yeah, it's funny. Football really kind of took me all around the world and did a whole bunch of different stuff. My first opportunity in Hollywood, I guess you could say, I got a call from a J.J. Watts director. They needed a stunt double to come chop wood in Houston, Texas for the 2 days. I went down there, and then I did another Verizon commercial. I was basically like a hand double stand-in. Got to meet him a couple times. He was a great guy. But from there, I got another 2 chances to be in a movie. I was in a movie, the Kurt Warner movie that just came out. I was a stunt double for that one. Lived in Oklahoma for 3 months. Got to be on set with a Lionsgate film. If you go to Amazon, the movie called The Nomads, it's a rugby movie. I was an Olympic rugby player. Got to play rugby in the Penn Stadium. And I got to try out for the WWE. I did that, and I learned on day 3 that I was not going to be in the WWE. Those guys get beat up more than the football players. I made it through all the way, though. I had no character. They let me. A lot of people quit, but they beat you up. I go, I think I'll go back and try some other stuff. So got to go around Hollywood a little bit, did some, a little bit of acting career, and then kind of wrapped it up from there. But it was cool just to even get those experiences and meet those people.
That's awesome.
That's great. That's great, man. I love that.
Yeah, you got to tell people that. That's
I'm
classic.
definitely going to put that. That's going to be
That's something you'll remember. You're 90 years old and you'll laugh about that.
Oh yeah, it's cool. And I even watch the movies and I laugh sometimes. I'm like, dude, that's me. I got to do all that. You know?
Like, how did they find you? Did you have an agent? Did you have an agent at the time?
Philadelphia, when we were down at the stadium there, being in Wells Fargo in that atmosphere, a lot of people brought Hollywood people to the movie or to the game. And then we'd go after, we'd hang out. You'd be in front of box seats. We'd go to Chicky and Pete. Pete, the owner, had ownership in there. So afterwards, it's just all the Jaws would bring his people, his media people. And you just literally talk to somebody and they go, oh, what are you doing next week? Thursday, you want to go to Houston? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be J.J. Watt's double. Flew me first class down there.
That's great.
And I just was a double for 2 days, and they liked me. I was cool on set, and they flew me for another one. I was just a stand-in, like a double.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
you decided you didn't want to pursue the Hollywood career, though?
Now, that too was like, man, this doesn't seem too. It's another cutthroat business, I'm like,
true.
I'm too normal of a guy. I didn't have the Hollywood in me. I couldn't be as acting as they wanted. I was the big guy. I could do all that.
Yeah.
But the Hollywood scene was a little weird in that sense. I got to meet some great people, though.
Yeah.
It was great just to be on in the movie scene itself.
Yeah. Well, it is one of those things too, where usually it's like you film for 10 minutes and then you hang around for like 5 hours and do nothing.
It was all day. I was there for 3 months in Oklahoma, just being a double. And like Kurt Warner was there. It was cool. His whole family was cool. We got to hang out with them.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of the actor. Dennis Quaid was there on set all day.
Nice.
We were hanging out with Dennis Quaid. He's taking us out. Like it was just like you're in Hollywood, but like action, cut, move, cut, run, do this, do that. Like it was cool though. It was
Probably
awesome.
never thought your football career would take you there, did you?
Yeah.
Never in a million years.
Yeah.
No,
that's nice.
I got to meet so many cool people.
Yeah.
I got to do a Verizon in the Baltimore Ravens stadium. I got to do a Verizon commercial. Got to put on the uniforms and do the Ray Lewis stomp out of the thing.
That's great.
Yeah, me, JJ Watt was really cool because at the time I'm trying to make the pros, and I'm like, this is up to. I watch your film every day,
Yeah.
So being he liked me, we got along just hanging out, talking football.
Oh, that's cool though.
Be able to rub elbows with those guys,
Yeah, you definitely have the body type. I mean, you'll do.
Right now, I'm not in prime shape. I'm fit. I like to keep my body nimble, and I like to be more healthy. At the time, I was like 265, 270.
Wow.
I was pretty big, yeah. When I was playing in Buffalo for the Bills, there was a weight limit. You had to keep it. If not, you were not looking good.
Wow.
So I'm a little thinner naturally. Like I'm a lighter guy in general, so it was hard for me to get on.
Wow.
And after football, I lost it all, which I'm totally fine with.
That's what you want. Yeah, that's what you want.
This stage in life. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Just prolong and longevity.
Who are some of the players and coaches that influenced you most? It could be in college, it could be before college, or the journey you've had since then.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I got to Shippensburg, I think Coach Mack really was the guy that did it for me. That made me bring the type of intensity. I like to think that if him and I played together on the D-line, that would have been the best duo. And I would always told him that because he came in as a nose guard. I go, you weren't in the secondary. You're a nose guard at heart. Same mindset. I really did look up to Coach Mack, and I'd run through a brick wall for that guy. I really would. So I think just playing through there and fighting for him and seeing how much passion he had for the game itself really set the tone for everything that we stood for as Raiders. So Coach Mack definitely was huge. Yeah,
and that's really why we're all involved in what we're doing right now with our R4L. We are, he's the real driving force behind this, in that we're doing it because we want to support what he's doing for the program, and we love what he's doing for the program. We love. And maybe you can talk about that a little bit. I watch him we were up at the spring game this year. He brings all the alumni on the field. We're interacting with the players, and you really get a sense of how he runs the program. What's your take on that? His discipline, you said he got you fired up and ready to run through a wall. I mean, talk about maybe him as a coach and
I think the biggest thing, and even when I would go back and just talk to some of those new guys that were coming in, is the sense of family that he had. And, that's what football was all about for me. It was never a single guy sport. It was about doing the dirty work for the guy you loved. And he really brought that sense of family passion to the coaches and the players, and it kind of made us connect in a sense, And I think when I got to the pros, I noticed it was a business, and I think that was
Yeah.
totally different. So when I got in relationships with coaches that knew that they were going to see me not the next day, and I was handing my, it's a different love for the game. You know, in college football, like I said, I'm fighting for that guy, and Coach Mack made that clear. And I think every kid that comes through Shippensburg becomes a family member. You know, it's from the top down. I have guys from all ages, from when I was a freshman to when I was a senior, and that I talk to at all ages that I'm still friends with and I still see. That's a pretty wide range gap for friends, and that's what was cool about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really good observation because I think we all know the professional level, it is a business. Like that's the
Yeah.
goal to make money. Absolutely. But
Right.
sadly, even the college game has done that. And I think Mac still has retained that family. And yeah, granted, D2 doesn't have all the NILs and all that stuff they're talking about like they are at the D1 level. But I do think we have something special. I think D2 and D3 ball players
Yeah.
still have that loyalty, still have something that it's not going to be at D1 anymore because kids do have to start looking out for themselves. Like I get it, but
Yeah.
it really has made that transition. And I think Mac is resisting that. But I think he's a little frustrated too because he does realize, sadly, it's part of the game.
Yep. Yep. It's been a big change to go back there and see it all. And I don't know anything about the D1 level with the NIL money, but I do know a little bit just because when I was in the pros, I talked to guys that were making money and doing stuff. So I know it's a whole different beast. And I think that sense of family that we had at the D2 level there at Ship was, you know, worth every bit of it going through that. So I take Ship for everything they gave me, and I respect and love those guys till the end.
Well, you know, it's interesting too because we've talked to some other guys, John Kuhn and various guys who have had success, and we've asked them. We said, you know, your sophomore year, you have a great year. Would you transfer? You know, would you try to go D1? And a lot of these guys said no. Like at least in their mindset at that time was they would not want to abandon, you know, the program, abandon the coaches. You know,
Yeah. And they were still able to do it, even coming from Ship. That's what shows how good the program was in general. Right?
Yeah.
Everywhere I went in the pros, and when I met guys all over in the scouts and coaches, you know, the PSAC, you know, the Division II, the PSAC, those PSAC boys. You know, that's all they said about how tough we were. You know, so to be a standout team in a league like that, Division II, that says something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jake, I do remember seeing you at a Soul game. I went down on a recruiting trip actually to Temple with a player, and we went over and we watched the Soul game. And right away, I was like, "That's a Ship boy right there!" Like I was really excited about it. That I actually knew. I didn't know you then. I watched you play, but that was pretty exciting. So that made me feel pretty good. Like, yeah, that's one of my Ship brothers.
And arena football, that was a different beast. It was a different kind of football, man. It really was. It was indoor. It was fast. There were walls. Some nights we were playing on ice just with carpet over top of the ice. I had to get flipped over the walls. Ron Jaworski, funny story. I remember every game he would just give me tickets to put my 30 rowdiest friends I could find right behind the opponent's bench. So we would just there right back on the bench, and it was all Philly, you know. And you got to Philly fans are just crazy in general. So be able to play football, get paid to do what I love, and especially in front of the hometown where friends and family could come, that was one of the coolest experiences too.
Yeah. I just remember how loud it was. Wow, I remember I literally had a headache when we were going home. I was like, oh my God, that was loud. And I wasn't that old, but you know, I was like, holy cow. I felt like I just left the concert.
Yeah.
But it was exciting. You won, by the way. You did win.
I know. We made it to the Arena Bowl that year. That's where I got the ring, and it was cool to be able to be under those guys with Ron Jaworski, who's a Philly legend in my eyes. You know, I'm good friends with him to this day. I can go golf with him on the course, you know, give him a call. Just to be able to meet those guys. And I went to the Super Bowl down in Florida with him and Marty Judge. They took me down. I got to meet some of my favorites down there. To be able to see a Super Bowl was awesome. So just the experiences in itself are so cool to be able to meet those guys from the Eagles team, you know. I'm always that Division II, you know, guy from the hometown whenever I go there. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
What would you say too? So like, we got a pretty young team at Ship right now. A lot of freshmen and sophomores. You know, you said you were kind of a late bloomer. You know, what would you tell a guy who's at Ship, who's maybe a freshman or sophomore? Like, what's it take to get, you know, potentially to that next level, or at least to be a champion and a winner?
If I could go back and tell, you know, myself in the beginning and even at the high school level, you really have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in the program and that they're given to you, and you have to believe in the team. You know, when you isolate yourself and make excuses for things that you did and you become isolated, you're only going to fall out of the pack. I think when you fully commit to the program, and then when you got a guy like Coach Mack that's telling you, and you stick to the program and do everything you're told, it becomes easy in a sense. You take pride for your mistakes. Don't try to blame the system or the coaches. You know, it really is about taking pride in your team, and I think that's what Ship brought. Honestly, that's what we did. We were proud of everybody, and everybody took credit for when they messed up, and everybody, you know, was humble when they were, you know, doing well as well. So I think we're all a family in that sense.
Nice.
Anybody coming to Ship, you're going to know you're with a good family.
Nice. What was your big pregame ritual? Did you have a pregame ritual? Did you have what got you ready for the game?
It's funny. There's a bar if you go down there, and we were talking about this at the first game this year. I went in there. The bar's still there, in the locker room where the weight is, or the scale in the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Down the hallway, there's the bars that line the bars.
Oh right.
Go out there and I'd play some hard rock, and I would just do curls on the bars. Curls out there and just jumping up and down, try to get my own spot. I would go out there and have my own locker room outside of the locker room.
Nice.
And I would go back in and bring the energy. You know, I always got my own little bubble first before I brought it to the team. You know, and then I
was going to say, you were a captain. Did you try to bring that energy to the team? Like, what did you pregame rah speech, or is that how you did it? Some guys quiet.
Some guys go all out because you know the game's not till 1. You know, some guys like to get fired up for 2-3 hours. I'd take a nap in Becky's training room for an hour and a half until I had 40 minutes, and I would be complete. I'd take my shower, and I knew I had a 40-minute window. I do, you know, whatever it be, the pre-workout, the Metallica. I go out, do some curls. I got the sweatband on. Then I go back in the room, and that's when the guys turned it on. So I just do my window because I didn't want to waste my energy. I got as cool, calm, collected as I could. And even at the pros, I would do that. I'd nap, relax, you know. At that moment, the hay's in the barn. And then when I released it, it was game time. So I remember there was a lot of great games there at Chip.
Nice.
You had fun. Did you guys do the tick, tick, boom? I don't know if you guys did that. No. I know Coach
was
Mack.
me.
That came out after us.
Okay.
That was me, I should say, yeah.
I was still going. I was there. I saw the guys. They're still doing it. So it's cool. That new locker room's awesome. I don't know if you guys got to see it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Of course you did. It's so cool. We didn't have that. I know you guys didn't either.
No. Yeah. We had a pregame guy. Our captain, Dave Calvario, would just move around the locker room quietly for an hour, like just pacing. And we all knew it was coming, and it was every game. And he'd have on a pair of like the nastiest shorts and a ratty t-shirt. And then all of a sudden he would just like blow up. And he got the whole team going with this, like just every week it was a different speech. I don't know what he was even doing. Like, I don't know where he got it from or anything. And
that's cool.
I got the whole team going.
Every team had that guy. Every team.
What are you doing now, Jake? What are you up to now?
Right now I'm in medical device sales here in Philadelphia. So as I was having all these surgeries on my fingers and my hands, all the pro athletes I played with down there made their way over to sales, and, you know, thought about coaching, but like I said, my heart was taken out a little bit, and I just want to stay in one spot. This is my hometown. You know, coaches at the pro level, they're getting cut just as much as the players.
Oh, yeah.
So for me to help out with the kids at the younger level is cool. I can still stay involved with the game. I'm an Eagles fan, diehard, so I'm right close to the stadium. I can go home to my dad's at the farm, 40 minutes north. So this is my town. Chip's 2 hours away.
Nice.
So, you know,
I'll
be around.
We got to get you back to the spring game next year.
Yes.
It's a great experience.
It's a great weekend.
Oh, I know. This year it didn't work out with work. I know I'm going to make it to homecoming this year.
Good. Well, we'll see you up there.
Cool. We'll
All right.
there.
Well, thanks again, Jake. It was great to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Jake.
Guys, have a great night.
Yeah.
Keep in touch.
And I want to thank our sponsor one more time, Frontier Corporation, Dennis Wenger from 1981. Thanks a lot, Dennis, for your support. All our sponsors, thanks for your support. Next week's show, we got Steve Ladio, Rob's teammate and captain back in 1989. Thanks a lot, guys. See you soon.
Cool.
See you, everybody.
Guys.